the biggest fundamental is mindset. And if you out the bat don't even value yourself, I mean, you have to learn to value yourself, and you are worth whatever commission you're trying to get. Don't just be quick to discount, because then that's showing to the seller that you're not even willing to negotiate for them.
Right.
If you can't even negotiate for yourself, how are you going to negotiate for somebody else?
Today, I have an amazing husband and wife team. They're one of the most successful teams in the St. Augustine, St. Johns County, Florida area. She is hyper local, having been raised locally here in St. Johns County. He hails from Cuba. They are both bilingual and enjoy assisting the Hispanic community. Let's welcome the Lopez Group 904, Hannah and Carlos Lopez, to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us.
So
Thank you.
I pronounced Cuba, right? That's really how it's pronounced, correct?
You did
Cuba is right, not Cuba. It's actually pronounced Cuba.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, cool. My little Spanish flair there. All right. But appreciate you guys coming down today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're super excited.
Really looking forward to get to know you guys a little better. I know you guys have been doing very well. I see all your social media, and we're going to talk about social media here on the show a little bit and how it affects you, because I think you, looking besides LinkedIn, we talked about you don't have a LinkedIn, but I think you guys should have a LinkedIn page. But I really enjoy your YouTube page, which I think a lot of agents are not doing enough of. And we talked about just, any video you should be doing, you should put it on YouTube, in my theory, because it's a library.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's what, and whether you'll see videos that are 3 years old that people still find if they search a certain neighborhood or whatever.
Right. Definitely.
So,
yeah, definitely. So, get better at that.
Ladies before gentlemen, so we'll kick off. Hannah, tell us what it was like growing up here in St. Johns County.
Oh, man. So I was born and raised here. My parents are born and raised here. I've seen all the change from, 2-lane to US 1 with no lights and tons of trees.
Dirt roads.
Yep. It's growing, and downtown is crazy. And it was a great little beach town.
Did you go to St. Augustine High? Or?
I did not. I went to Pedro.
Pedro, okay.
Yep. So I grew up in the South End and St. Augustine Shores. My dad went to St. Augustine High School.
No, I was thinking Cole Slate. That's what I used to call his name slipped my mind. Cole grew up, obviously, in the northwest sector, and he talks about 210 being a dirt road, basically. And then, obviously, he went to Bartram, which was built around the same time, right? Pedro and Bartram, they look identical when you pull up to them or walk inside.
They do, yeah.
From that standpoint. How do you think that, or what do you do to bring that out in relating to people coming here for the first time, looking at homes?
Well, I can easily relate with them, and I can explain all the changes of St. Augustine. And one of the biggest selling points that I like to mention to people about St. Augustine is, even though, we are the fastest growing county in Florida, I would say, we still kind of remain small, and we have that small town charm. And so to me, it's, yes, you're going to see a lot of changes. You're going to see more schools. You're going to see more traffic. But you'll never see high rises and souvenir shops and all of that. So St. Augustine still has such a small community. I mean, everybody is supporting local businesses. There's a lot of new businesses. And it's just that local charm is still there. And I think it'll always remain there.
Well, I mean, just to call out to the city of St. Augustine Chamber of Commerce and how pro-business they are. Every weekend there's something going on. Tourism is the dollars, because we're Florida.
Yeah.
But they do everything that they can to be as pro-business as possible, thinking of the bigger picture of, visitors coming here and spending their dollars, whether it's in the restaurants, the hotels, etc.
Yeah. And the good thing is that it's not going to be, like Daytona, where there's just all these different shops. Like I said, with them being so pro-business, it's just very like the small business. And, families are supporting other families. And I feel like that's what makes the difference in St. Augustine.
Right.
All right, Carlos. We told you pre-show we want the story, because I think people resonate. I mean, every fellow Cuban that I've met, I have a great respect for, especially their work ethic. And, sometimes they can be super competitive too. I don't know if that describes you a little bit, but tell us about your journey.
So, I'm from Cuba. I was born in Havana, and I moved to the U.S. in 2011. I was 18 years old. And I came straight to St. Augustine. I think that's one of the best things that
Fun fact.
happened to me.
Well,
I
she's sitting
didn't-
beside you, obviously.
Yeah.
That was one of the best movies you
Well,
ever
yeah,
did.
right. But the fact that I didn't get stuck in Miami,
Right.
that to me has been the best because it made me grow. I learned the language a lot faster than some of my friends that left at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah,
That was his phone.
so that's how I got here.
How were you able? I mean, right now the climate. I think it was Obama's administration tried to lose. What was the climate? How did you get out of Havana? Because I think that's probably a lot of.
So really, I don't have a sexy story about that.
Mm-hmm.
The way I got out of Cuba was very easy. My dad's the one that did the crazy part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My dad left Cuba with a fake work permit to Guatemala. From Guatemala, he went to Mexico. Mexico, he crossed the border. And at the time, you were able to go to the border and say, hey, I'm Cuban. I'm here to, I'm escaping communism or whatever.
Right.
And he did that, and he was able to enter the U.S. And after he became a legal resident, he put in papers for me and my sister to get out of Cuba. And we just flew, after 5 years, because it took a long time.
Right.
After
right.
5 years, they gave me my dismissal papers for the Army and just let me go.
So there was a 5 or 6 year period there you didn't see your dad.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was his total mission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the reason why he left Cuba, because there's no future over there.
Yeah. Amazing. Was he already here in St. Augustine's while you came to St. Augustine? What actually got you here?
Right before we moved, he came to St. Augustine. He didn't want us to grow up in Miami.
But he kind of bounced around from.
Yeah, he went from Miami to Tampa, but he decided to move to St. Augustine. That way we could insert ourselves into the American society a lot easier.
And
Right.
meet me.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's actually brilliant. I mean, way he put, because obviously you go to Miami. I think the average American visualizes these communities of there's a lot of cultures that make up Miami as they do New York, and they generally try to 100%. Gather together type of thing. Yeah. And sometimes you don't get out in, if you want to call it mainstream yourself.
Or learn the language. I mean,
right.
When
what
you go
I
to Miami,
think about
kind of...
is, every time we go to Miami, I think the same thing. It's like it's oversaturated, I would say. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of opportunity, and I believe that if we were to move to Miami tomorrow, we'll make it.
Right.
With the things that we know now. But coming from a different country straight to Miami where you're comfortable with your language, you don't grow.
Right.
If you want to grow, you want to get out of your comfort zone, you want to learn new things. Mm-hmm. That's what makes you grow.
That's awesome. I totally agree. That's a great story there. So how do you guys end up
meeting?
Do you wait till she comes back from Spain and knows how to speak Spanish before you actually are,
No, she was already here when I
had come
she
back
came
from
back.
Spain.
Right.
Yeah.
She came back from Spain in 2011. So we met really at a hotel that she used to work. And I used to work, but I got let go.
Mm-hmm. That's a whole other story.
Right. But I go back to the hotel and I'm like, hey, I need my job back.
But wait. You need to say he came back to the hotel after I became friends with his stepmom, and I was practicing Spanish with her, and she says, you need to meet my son. And now all of a sudden he asks for a job to come back.
Right. So we met there. I was doing maintenance work, and she was the clerk, and that's how we met.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good friends, and
Tell us about this from this train right now. You guys are working at the hotel. What kind of period of time goes by, and then or do you both enter real estate together, or is it Hannah goes in first?
I go in first, but there's a whole nother story before that.
Go for it.
So after I left the hotel, I ended up being a nanny for a little bit. And Carlos, actually, the dynamic of our relationship has always been him kind of being the visionary and me being the integrator. I feel like that's always how we've been. So as a nanny, I was like, okay, I love being a nanny for this family, but I want something more. And Carlos sent me an ad for a dispatcher for 911, the sheriff's office.
Right.
And he said, hey, this is a great salary,
here's
benefits.
But backstory is that I always wanted to be a cop.
Oh.
That's what I wanted to do, right? But I couldn't because I wasn't a citizen. When she was telling me that she was, she wanted to do something different, I was like, hey, I just saw an ad that the sheriff's office is hiring dispatchers. Why don't you, you'd be great at that. You have all the skills. And she ended up applying and getting a job there.
Yeah. So I was there for 5 years, answering 911 calls. I was doing the radio dispatch for police. And then Carlos got his citizenship and he became a cop. Yeah. So here we are again. Right. So he was on the road and I was his dispatcher most of the time.
Well, so let's step back just, on that, because we think the amount of people you meet in that position. Obviously, you probably knew everybody in the St. Johns County Sheriff's Department within a very brief period of time, as small as it was. And, growing now might be a little more difficult now. But I mean, again, I think he leads us on a path. And that path was you getting even more ingrained into St. Johns County. And now you out patrolling, you're meeting people and business owners and so forth.
Yes. I was meeting, obviously, all kinds of people. Unfortunately, not the kind of people I wanted to be meeting. But yes. And, to me, that job really made me into who I am today. It gave me the ability to talk to all kinds of people, gave me confidence. It's really interesting how it does that.
Yeah.
Everything is like a little pathway to where we are now, because answering 911 calls, I mean, you're dealing with people's worst day of their entire life, and it's whatever they're dealing with, and I'm the first person they talk to. Right. So I had to learn through training how to talk to those people, how to calm them down, how to stay calm myself in really stressful situations. And that all ties into real estate, because obviously real estate, people aren't dying on the phone, but
there's emotions involved.
There's a lot of emotions. It's the biggest investment somebody's ever going to make, and it's a lot of money. And I think moving is like the top 5 or one of the top 5 most stressful things that you endure in your life. Sure. So I think being able to integrate all of that training has really helped me help people.
Yeah. It's interesting. Again, like I said, I think you guys are gonna be like 176. Listening to everyone's story and how certain things fell into place and prepped you for that, because you probably wouldn't even think of becoming a real estate agent prior to doing that. Because I think confidence is one of those things, like you said, being able to talk to anyone.
For me, it's been different because I never thought of becoming a real estate agent. That never crossed my mind. However, I always liked real estate, investing. One of the first books I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then the
Cash Flow Quadrant.
Cash Flow Quadrant.
Right.
And ever since I read those books, it closed me on the idea that I needed to become an investor at some point in my life. And I knew that. And then she got into real estate, and then I'm like, okay, maybe this is the universe telling me, hey, this is where you need to go.
Exactly.
So that's what I did.
You're dispatching.
Yep.
What brings the real estate bug, though? I'm like who talks to you? Who do you meet? What happens here?
Yeah. So I've always thought about doing real estate. I just never did it. I don't know why, until I brought my missionary along with me to push me. But I had a baby, and then I was pregnant with my second, and I was in dispatch. And I just got to a point where this is really hard. It was really difficult. We were working 12-hour shifts, night. We were on the same shift, so childcare. And it just got to a point, and honestly, Maddie Beal, she's with Momentum right now. She actually sold us our house, and she was 19.
I'm gonna call timeout right now. I invited that young lady to be on the show. We scheduled, but then she ended up deciding to go to Dominican Republic, I think it was. And she's never answered my message again. So I'm dropping it. I'm calling her out, and hopefully you'll call her out to come on the show.
Got to do it.
That's right.
She is definitely someone
a very special person.
She really, really is.
When we met her, I think she was 19 years old. She was our realtor. And that was another thing that I was like, man, what the heck?
Right.
And I told Hannah, I said, this girl, like, she's got time. I remember she showed us a house, and she was like, talking to us. She's very, very social, right? And she was talking to us, and she's like, yeah, and after this, I'm going to the beach with my baby.
I hate this guy.
But no, it made me realize, okay, these people have time.
Yeah.
They are the owners of their time, and it was one of the things that we didn't have at the time.
Right. Well, the laughable thing is, I've had Christina Welch on, and she made it great. It's not HGTV. Everyone sees that, but the real estate industry in general, even on the loan side, especially when I was working for the builders, and they're all working on the weekends. So we're answering and doing pre-approvals all weekend long.
Yeah.
Your business is your lifestyle.
Right.
It becomes a lifestyle in that you're working 24/7 at every opportunity, meeting, talking to people, networking in a subtle way. You're not selling anyone unless they tell you, hey, we're looking for a home. Otherwise, but most people they want to talk about real estate. That's a very common neutral thing to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're gonna do real estate, yes, it does have to become part of your way of life. However, I'll say this because a lot of people say you're a realtor, you never have time for anything. If you master your schedule and you schedule the time for you in your schedule, you'll be able to have it. And
exactly.
You don't have to work 24/7. If you run your business like a business and you don't let the business run you,
right,
that you have that, you are able to achieve that.
I think a lot of agents that get caught up or too overwhelmed, or I mean some of them probably even burn out, is they're not like, okay, my kid's ball game's tonight, I'm blocking that time off because that's what I'm doing. And if someone calls and says they want to look at a house, I'm saying, hey, sorry, I've got another appointment. 100%. The one thing I learned at Quicken Loans early was they said when customers call, don't be so quick to answer the phone right away. Send it to voicemail. Wait a couple minutes and call them back, because you're busy talking to somebody else, and you want them to have the perception, which becomes reality, is you are busy. You are working with other people. These people are not your only customer on the street because you're that good.
Yeah. And with that being said, it's like, don't get me wrong. If you are starting and you're brand new, you should be by your phone. Yes, you don't have the luxury of having the time. You have to do it. But as you go, and as you're making money, you're getting more clients, try to accommodate yourself to where you have that life that you want.
It's why you're working as hard as you do.
Exactly. We are just now tapping into like creating other stream of income, like other businesses, investing. That's another thing. You don't want to be a realtor for the rest of your life. Can you imagine 40, 50 years old, having to put on signs on the side of the road? Nobody wants to do that. That's a reality.
Some people do. I just got nobody. Some people get caught up in it, and they love. There's parts of it. I think everyone does what they do, and there's something that's part of it that they love.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other stuff that they don't. Could let somebody else do.
Yeah.
There's always something. Whether it's a negotiation or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If I had to advise my child, I will let him know that, yes, make the money now, but invest it. That way later you don't have to do those things.
I totally agree to where you don't actually, have to answer the phone. Yeah.
Because, it's a trap. It can become a trap.
And to circle back on all of this whole topic is, when I first started in real estate, I started with a team. And so the way I was getting leads was through Zillow. So,
well, we go back rewind just a little bit further from there, because we didn't actually get to the point of what was the enticement to come over to real estate? What made the jump, help you make the jump?
So I called up Maddie and I said, hey, I'm really thinking about finally making the jump. As crazy as I was, I feel like we always make really crazy decisions in the most crazy time. I mean, I was pregnant with a child. I had no means to quit my job. But I told Carlos, this is really what I want to do. And he said, do it. You're going to be great at it. And I think just with that push, it's just, okay. So I did it.
So when you marry the right person, to where you can actually say that as a fresh air to me as a husband.
Yeah.
You have to be on the same page for sure.
Yeah.
Always. And that, we can touch on that too. But I called up Maddie, and I remember I called up my friend named Taylor. And Maddie is with DJ and Lindsay. Taylor is with the Newcomer Group. And I said, tell me what I should be doing. I'm a mom, I'm pregnant, I'm expecting, but I want to make money. And so I kind of weighed my options, and I ended up going with Luke and Sadie. And it was great. I mean, they have molded me into the person that I am today professionally. And then I got to a point where, I really wanted to brand my own way, and I really wanted to build my own, and that's kind of where I went. So 2021, I went on my own.
And both of those groups are fairly similar. DJ and Lindsay are very good friends with Sadie and Luke. You see them going to dinner all the time or whatever, they're different events and so forth. They run their business probably, if I was to name the top 5 unique real estate agents that are running their business like many others are not. Those two would be in that top 5 group easily, just because how they do it. How, for you, being new, never sold a home before, you went and, well, in this case, you actually spoke to 2 similar brokerages. You chose Luke and Sadie for whatever reason, maybe you want to mention, or whatever, what is about them that clicked with you. But you come to work. That's their, yeah.
I had a baby on the way. I was like, how much money can I make before this baby comes? And I remember asking Taylor, how much money do you think I can really make before I have Ruby?
Right.
And she told me an amount, and I just thought, I cried. I was like, I could make that amount of money before I have a child? And she's like, yeah, like easily. And that's when everything changed for me. At that time, we were doing Zillow calls, and it was whoever got the phone first. They have different systems now.
Yeah.
But in that time was whoever got the phone call first is the one who got the lead. Best bet. I'd be driving, and I'm like, doop, I got it. Every time.
And that's what I was saying about, like, if you're starting, that should be your attitude.
Yep.
Yes.
You don't have the luxury to not do that.
No. I wanted to make as much money as I could before Ruby came, and obviously after she came. But, I knew I was going to take some time off and stuff, so I wanted to bank as much as I could. And we did, and that was just completely life-changing. I had no idea that was even possible.
Yeah.
So I continued doing that, and that's kind of what I was saying about answering your phone. In that time, it was Zillow leads, so it was, you are tied to the phone. And even if you have certain schedules that they set for you for, like, on-call schedules, that's what you had to do. And
I think she doubled my salary in half a year. I'm serious.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So initially, because I want to tap on that, because I know there's a lot of, I get the messages every so often. Someone will watch one of the videos or one of the reels that are put out. And, at that time, money was the foremost thing in front of me, because you were probably working paycheck to paycheck on a county salaries that you were. How have things evolved for you in what your mindset is and attitude now that you've been in it and have continued success?
You mean my mindset in real estate?
Well, getting away from just, hey, how much money can I make this year?
Yeah.
That's not probably, you don't even really, you envision this is my goals and this is how much I can make. Now you probably have a different attitude every day, Ren. How much money can I make before my baby's born?
Yeah, now, we're opening up a new business. I can't talk about it yet unless you want to, but that's launching.
We'll have a follow-up. We'll do a follow-up 30-minute market update is what I call it. We'll stream and we'll talk about that when it comes out.
Really amazing. But when you think about, I often humble myself a lot thinking about that time in my life when I was, living paycheck to paycheck or, all of those things. And then to when you have a lump sum of money in the bank to where you're comfortable. And I think now it just kind of changed the mindset of you still have to kind of almost have that mindset in a way to just really respect the money that comes to you and to
respect
you, because that money can go quickly, and a lot of people spend it quickly. And we've done that. Everybody's done that. When you get more money that you're not used to having, you don't really know how to control it. But I think for us,
back then,
educating ourselves has been, and investing in ourselves, just reading books about how to invest.
Getting a coach.
Yes,
That's
all
what
of
I was
those
going to say. We didn't have a coach back then, so a lot of that money, it just, just went away.
Let's tap on the coach, fill in the gaps. So you're doing well. You're doubling his salary or whatever, however you gestured there. Carlos, when do you go, hey, maybe I should get out of the patrol car here?
It was it was about 2 years after that, right? I want to say this. But yeah, so it was about 2 years after she went to real estate. But I really didn't want, I've seen Maddie, I've seen other guys in Momentum Realty, and I was like, that's really the group of people I want to be around. I didn't resonate with any other team out there. And so I told Hannah that. I said, I will get my real estate license, but Momentum is where I want to be. And, me, at the time, Momentum wasn't even taking new agents. I kept working on my real estate license, etc. And then she decided to go on her own and do her own branding and stuff like that. And that's how I was able to get into Momentum. Because if not, I would have been able to.
Because you have to sell a certain tier before you can get accepted into Momentum. Now they have different programs for newer agents, but at the time they didn't.
Yeah. When John and Brittany, what are they called? They have the
Ascend.
Ascend Group. Yeah. For the newer agents. Yeah.
So, that's how I got into that. But I always knew, I was very clear.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So you had to have your father come to the States to get into the United States. You had to have your wife do really well at Momentum to get you into Momentum. Is that what we're...
You know, there's a lot of behind the scenes, and quite frankly, that's,
All right, so let's bring it back. Now we filled it. You jump out of the car. You jump out of the patrol car. You're going. Do we immediately form a team? I mean, this is in discussion. We're immediately the Lopez Group.
Yep. So we formed the team. He stayed on part-time as a cop because it was just kind of like the rocky market.
Benefits and
which now again after tons of education we realize those benefits are nothing, because I mean they're great, they are great, but what I'm saying is with the amount of money that you can make in real estate, it's going to pay for all of that. You know what I mean? So it's just there's pros and cons, but the thing that I started noticing was, you know, I started noticing a lot of change in Carlos after being a cop. You know, just his mood was different, his body was different, just a lot of stress, a lot of, you know, not sleeping well. And, you know, once he got into real estate and he jumped out of, you know, being a law enforcement, it has changed our life for the better. And, you know, I tell him, I'm like, you know, not being a cop looks really good on you. He's happy and he's just, you know, it's just, I got him back.
It's different.
It changes you a lot.
I want to just backtrack a little bit because I always think there's a new agent or maybe an agent struggling, which we could talk about. But you come in, you bought into the structure that Sadie and Luke had put together. How important, when you're looking back now, was that for you? Obviously, I assume you believe, because it's based on what you've expressed, you chose the right brokerage. But you bought into their systems, you went after it, and then, you know, just how structured environment that they provide. You know, looking back, how do you think that changed your career? Versus, I'm sure you've met other agents that started at many of the other brokerages in that are available to go to, and how, you know, that helped you versus some of the struggles that they're going through. You know.
Yeah. No, the newcomer group taught me everything. I mean, they had the ad spend to where, you know, there were leads all the time. It was up to you to close them. I mean, you were given leads every single day. So if you have the mindset to go for it and you're willing to just hustle as hard as you can. I mean, I was there for about 1.5 years. Honestly, that's their structure of, you know, office time and respecting your schedule. That still follows me to this day. And, you know, I learned so much because right before, when I joined there, it was right when COVID was about to happen. So we had no idea that was obviously going to happen. But then the market went crazy. And so all of that was like contract experience, you know, just how to show houses, how to close people. And it was very quick moving. And I think I got all my experience from that.
You were fortunate because you're much like me being in the call center, a lot of at-bats, right? I'm pulling a lot of credit reports, seeing a lot of situations, getting loans done for people, and because of the volume there accelerated your thing. Did you have a mentor? Did you know, because obviously, you know, some of the skills, even answering the phone, it's not, Luke and Sadie aren't, you know, Quicken Loans and having a training department and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sure they had some training. Hey, this is how we want you to answer the phone. But I imagine they're tweaking that all the time.
Yeah.
Was there someone that you mirrored, that you know, saw, hey, how do I take it from the phone call to the first meeting, buyer consultation or listing consultation, and then obviously showing homes or doing an open house?
Well, they had a woman working for them. She doesn't work for them now, but in that time she was working with them. Her name was Diane. I wish she knew still how much she means to me to this day. And she and I really, really bonded. And she was basically my mentor there. I don't even know what her actual job title was, but she helped training. And she was very, very successful back in her time where she lived. And now she just didn't really want to sell real estate at the time. But I learned so much from her. And I mean, that was many phone calls. I would call her all the time. Can you help me? I have a question. You know, what does this mean on the contract? I had phone calls that I got from Zillow of $1 million buyer. And I said, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Like, how can I be the best I can be with this lady or this person. And, you know, she just kind of brought me through and just, she really...
So you had an in-house coach really
she
there, right?
just really molded me a lot. And I still am just so grateful for her, honestly. I talk about her all the time.
If you were advising someone that wanted to get in the real estate business today, because I think I really wish, and I haven't mentioned this in a long time, but that some of these new real estate agents need to be the first training, besides obviously to pass the test, all the legalese things that you need to know or be advised of anyway. Who remembers half of it, right? But how to go in this? When you had that initial, it was a Taylor at and say when you were talking with Taylor and so why should I go to the newcomer group? Was this late Diane brought up about what a wonderful support person she is? No,
Taylor kind of explained how, you know, the newcomer group is more boutique. It's more, I don't want to say family friendly because I don't want that to come off in the wrong way, but it was just more boutique. So it was just different. And I just really resonated with that because, you know, I was a mom and I was pregnant and I wanted a smaller team around me to help me grow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of agents, unfortunately, like they never 80% we know fall out. You know, they never renew their license, and it's because they didn't choose the right brokerage. But it goes beyond just choosing the right brokerage or even broker. In this case, hey, newcomer group sounds great, tight knit group that support each other, and then all of a sudden you get there and you find Diane, which was double bonus.
Yeah, it was.
And a lot of agents don't dig deep enough to realize we need to find the Dianes in those brokerages, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you still with the newcomer group when he comes on, or we have gone over to Momentum? Or so you go over to Momentum.
Yep.
Okay, you want to do your own thing. He jumps. Carlos, tell us about your ramp up in the learning curve of becoming a real estate agent.
It was rough because again, it was a rocky time, and the reason also why I come on is because she grew, but she needed that extra.
She hit a lid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she's the one that tells me, like, hey, you know, I know you like this. If you get your license, you can join me and we can do amazing things. And that's what I did. I just worked on my real estate license, and once I got it, I went part-time because I still wasn't sure, right?
Part-time with police,
with the San Jose County. Right. And then I did real estate full-time, part-time in St. John's, and then we kept growing and growing, and I finally was like, I have to do this completely.
Got to rip off the Band-Aid.
So she invites you in to work with her,
right?
Which I don't know. Me and my wife have talked about it, but I don't know. we're both. Well, although she's more the project manager type. I have the high D personality, you know. Yeah. And we to actually work together because we won't have the same goal, but a different way to get there, right? Type of thing. Yeah. So, but you saw in him where he could hopefully break you through this lid, and skills that he has. What are some of those skills that you thought that he was? Because I don't think this would happen in any. Well, even two friends, but let alone a married couple. What are some of the skills that you're like, wow, he could do some of these things and take off my plate, and I can move forward in more of the obviously the money making things, showing more homes, seeing more people.
Yeah, well, you gotta understand, we went from working at the hotel together, working in the sheriff's office together. So we've always worked together. It's just we've always had that really great balance. We're still learning.
Me and my wife met at work too, so that's not guaranteed.
You know, we're still trying to find our balance and how things move, but
it's not perfect by any means.
No, God, I never said that. But you know, Carlos has this. What is the word? I don't know how to say it, but he can really see something from like an aerial view and just kind of like check himself out and think of like the big picture, the big vision. And I'm stuck in like, no, but I have to finish this Canva. I got to do this invite. And he's like, but no, like none of that matters. So I think for him, it's just truly the visionary of our company of like, where are we going? How are we going to get there? That's not working. We need to, pivot this way. When I'm more of like, just tell me where to go and I'm going to do it kind of thing. So I think he just ultimately is the visionary.
I because I can relate to that part. Yeah, there's like, okay, and it's, you learn by maturity too. It's taken me a lot longer. I see people like Miss Beal, there's, you know, doing wonderful things. And I've had a lot of agents under 30 years old. I'm like, man, I wish I, you know, had your skill set when I was under 30. It took me long, but to actually sit back and go, okay, do I want to even send that text message? You know, or you're in negotiations. It's like, okay, in the long scheme of things, if you know, it's like a chess game. If I move over here, what are they going to do? And you start like trying to move 2 or 3 steps ahead to see, is it even worth, you know, is that important?
Yeah.
You know, or does that text message really going to, or is someone going to get ticked off? And now I'm like backstepping.
With that, it's funny.
For him with negotiation, I mean, that's what he's done for years as a cop, you know? So for us, I kind of almost
not really
leverage.
negotiation.
Well, no, but like you have
Dealing with conflict, very easy for me.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm a softie, so I'm like, they didn't put an exclamation point on the text, like they hate me, you know. So
Or when you have
it's just leveraging that out to him for Carlos to kind of, he's more black and white, what I'm kind of, you know. So it's
setting clear expectations, that's good for both sellers and buyers.
Yep.
You need that, because then they get disappointed at you, and then
you can't sugarcoat anything either.
you can't.
Do you when you're working with someone on the listing or buying side, or if there's difference when you work, are they basically in contact with both of you, or someone takes point on the?
No, it's really both. I kind of take point when it comes to, you know, after contract, I kind of just help with the communication part of it, but it's streamlined. I mean, we're always in a group chat, so if I'm busy, he can take over, and vice versa. But people ask us a lot of the time, you know, so for listing appointments, do you guys go together? Or is it like
Exactly, that's my next question. Yeah.
We always go together, we get them.
Yeah.
Because people like it. They can resonate with us. They like our dedication to each other, so they can see like, okay, if you guys are dedicated to each other, I know that you're showing me that you're dedicated to me. And then it's also really important that we have 2 different views of something. So if a seller says, do you think I need to do this or should I do this? You know, I'll give you my opinion, and then Carlos gives you know, his different outlook. And they like that we can kind of ping pong the idea around rather than me coming in there and telling them they need to do something. So I think it's very comfortable, and, you know, we're all about building relationships. That's really our tagline. And so going in there together, I mean, we're just building a relationship for the long run.
Well, you hit on something there, because a lot of people, you know, when we leave a conversation, oh man, I should have said this or I should have said that. But when you're there together, he's listening to you, what you're saying, and then he's able to, you know, maybe, you know, you left something out. Maybe he, you know, I think in sales, a lot of people don't realize the ability to, I call it, I've talked about it on the show, to TO, to turn it over, right? Because you could be going, and you're not by yourself, and they're like, okay, but you're not saying the right thing.
Yeah.
But he's able to evaluate that conversation. I'm sure vice versa happens as well.
All the time.
And then insert a statement in there, and they're like, oh, okay, now I get it because she said it.
Yeah.
You know?
And sometimes Carlos is very black and white. So he, you know, as an example, not that this has happened, but he'll say something like, no, the paint color has to change. And I like, well, no, I mean, it's beautiful the way it is. And I just think that, you know, so it's just, he's very black and white, and I'm more like, I can take it and make it, just put some flowers and make it a little bit prettier.
Right.
But yeah, it's funny. Our dynamic, like.
And well, it's interesting. My former boss at Quicken would tell you, oh, you're good with the Northeast. I grew up in the Northeast. I was born in New York, grew up on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And, you know, having those people it's a different conversation. You can be like, you know, to the point with some of them. Others need a little more empathy, is the word, you know, type of thing.
That's where I come in.
Yeah, exactly. But being in Florida, we have such a mix of people from all over. You know, your Midwesterners to the Northeasterners, they have different attitudes on those type of things. I think listing appointments, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you'll agree with me, but right now, you know, going in and to tag on the NAR lawsuit, right, showing our value is no more important than right now going into that listing appointment right now and really showing your value. Like, hey, this is how I'm going to present your home, which I know Luke does a very good job on Instagram when he goes around the houses and he shows that extra value. Express a little bit, you know, how important when you guys go in, what do you set a game plan when you're going in? Because you have some preliminary information. Tell us how you guys walk through as a team, and then how you go in and present to a possible listing?
Well,
It's actually kind of funny, and people may completely disagree with me on this. We have material. We have material that we could bring into a listing appointment. We have it. I typically go in there kind of empty-handed. I go in there with the knowledge that I know, when they bought it, what the comps are, all of that. And I do sometimes leave it in the car or if I have it down. But I'm not going in there to show them all my stuff. And I just don't.
We're not trying to sell. And I think there's two streams, right? Mm-hmm. We go in there trying to help them. What do you need to do? If I have to force myself to you and sell myself, then I'm not that good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
there's no point of me going in there saying, like, I sold this, I do that, I can do this. They probably hear that all the time. And so for me, it's like, tell me what you need. We went on a listing appointment here recently of a husband and wife, and they're sitting on a lot of equity right now and they need to upsize, but they weren't really sure what they wanted to do. So we could have went in there, we could have closed them on selling. You need to sell, now's a great time. We're hitting the spring market, blah, 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 blah. But we actually turned it to say, have you thought about renting this out? You could cash flow positive. I mean, probably like $1,000 a month just from that. And that would help cover your next mortgage or whatever it is. And they love that. Right. I mean, just the fact that we are going in there with different solutions for them. I mean, not that we're going to make money on them renting it out, but it's not about that. It's about building the relationship and building the trust.
Yeah, and you have to think about what happens after the transaction. You got them to sell their house, and after the transaction, they might be thinking, man, maybe we should have done this. But if Carlos wouldn't have, and then they resent you. Yeah. They might not tell you, but if they think that, they might not call you ever again.
Right.
You got that transaction that time, but you're never going to get anything after that. Most of the people, and I'll say most because you always have a client that,
it doesn't matter what you did.
Right.
Yeah.
But most of the people that we do business with, they're on our phones forever.
Yeah.
It's a relationship that will be there forever,
Yeah.
And I'd rather do my business that way because it compounds.
Right.
And,
well, I think the differentiator, like you said, you're the solution provider. So anyone listening to the podcast today, they want to learn something from this segment that we just talked about, is going in and listening to them instead of coming in and being garbage. We call it garbage of the mouth.
100%.
And then going, hey, based on what you said, we would professionally suggest this.
Yes.
And to go back to the listing appointments, I've, just some comments that I've heard over the last few months in the current market going into 24. We have more buyers that want turnkey. Mm-hmm. They don't want a project. They don't have time for a project, let alone money for a project. Mm-hmm. So prepping the home for that. Having that upfront conversation with that person, being more direct, like, hey, maybe we need to paint the pink room.
Yeah.
Right.
How important are you? How do you approach a customer in that? Because I imagine you've walked into some homes and you're like, we can't do photography right now.
Yeah.
We need a week or so to get this cleaned up.
Yeah.
How do you handle that situation?
Well, I think, when you work with us, we have a lot of resources. We try to give them resources off the bat. When we walk into a house, we're not going to say, oh gosh, this is like a disaster. But we walked into houses that just aren't ready yet. Mm-hmm. And, we get
at least to get the best.
Yes. Yeah.
Money.
And so we are honest with them, and we give them options. Like, listen, if you want to list just the way it is right now, that's fine. If you don't have the money to spend out of pocket, that's okay. But here's the 3 prices that we're going to be looking at to sell. So we're going to be looking at this price if you don't do anything. Mm-hmm. We could test it at the middle price, knowing that we're probably going to settle at the first price.
Right.
Or if you want to put some extra, blood, sweat, and tears into the house, we could then try it for X amount. And then we like to give them some options. So if you do that, we can give you our cleaner. Then we can, cover the first months of staging, and let's restage the house, or get an interior designer in here to kind of spruce it up a little bit. So there's a lot of things resources and connections that we have.
Well, how have you noticed? Because I think, only the top agents on, and one of the common things I hear is having those contractor lists, whether it's the cleaning lady.
We have a relationship, a connection with all these companies, and that's who we work with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Being the concierge, you've got the connections. We can come in here and have this kitchen spruced up or whatever, bathroom or whatever, because again, that's going to drag down, get people to lowball. Oh, it needs a lot of work, where maybe it's just some little TLC. We'll get there. I want to tap on the social media a little bit. I've gone on, viewed your YouTube page. Your Instagram is there. You got those. I love those little ones where you're sitting down. You get the white words in front, but you guys are doing little educational videos for a minute or two or whatever it is. Because when I look at some of these big Instagram real estate agents, they've got those videos regularly. That one lady I was showing you earlier on there. I don't think there's a way to measure if you get business from social media, but how has it made you look? I'm going to use the word legit, because I really believe, as we were talking pre-show about LinkedIn, people will go on these places to learn a little bit more about you versus what, the person that was in front of me, what's behind the scenes? All right, let's go to social media and find out a little bit. Are they like this to everyone? Who is this person? Is what I think they're doing.
Yeah.
What's your mindset on social media as part of your marketing plan?
Last year, we invested a lot in social media. We did, professional videos. We did the YouTube. We got, all of the B-roll, and we made it super fancy and all of that. We got a lot of compliments from many people. Oh my gosh, you guys look like you're doing so great. You guys look like you're doing so busy. Or that you're being so busy. And, that's great. And I loved the compliments. But after doing just some more digging on people that I inspire to be like in the real estate industry, nationwide, I personally really love the raw videos, because that's who we are. We're not the flashy realtors that show up in a BMW with the big bag, and that's just not who we are. And so I think, to be more
overly staged videos.
I like the raw stuff.
Very edited videos.
And a lot of people have said, they like the raw stuff because it makes them relate to us more, because we're not trying to be someone that we're not. So those videos.
No, there was one on there this morning, and I made comment. I can't remember if it was on Facebook or not, but it was so well done.
Oh, that one.
Did I mention you saw my comment?
I did that in 30 seconds on CapCut.
Yeah. That was really good. That was really good.
Yeah. But I did use some of the B-roll that we did in our old videos, but I really love those old videos that we did, but I'm really trying to get into the more raw footage, or just kind of creating fun stuff that are quicker. I love reels. I think that's really fun. And it's just, it shows our life with music behind it, which is more fun. But yeah, so I think I'm trying to balance social media, because it is hard to handle that. And I would love to leverage that out at some point.
I would love to leverage that.
Well, are you scheduling time for it? We were talking about scheduling earlier. Are you like, hey, whatever, Monday, Tuesday, more, whatever, we're going to spend an hour to do it? Or are you kind of more like, hey, we got some time, let's shoot a video?
Kind of like that.
As of right now, we are like that. Yeah. Last year, we had it scheduled.
We did, yeah.
Well, your videographer is supposed to actually show up here. Matt.
I love him.
We were going to cut a couple. Yes, he does some great stuff. And I always like come in. We will hopefully, he was supposed to be here by now. I'm surprised he hasn't opened the door yet, but hopefully he'll come in. Well, I noticed on your website, you have a handful of YouTube videos that you have there. I think a lot of agents are not doing enough in putting it on YouTube. As we talk pre-show, it's a library.
You're right.
Yeah.
And I know you have some neighborhood videos in there, because you just tell you at the neighborhood right across, or an address or whatever.
Yeah.
That address is ever Googled.
Yeah.
That video is going to show up. Google and YouTube. Yeah. They're like married, like Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. And I'm not a super tech savvy person. And Matt honestly was like helping me so much. Cause like, how do I do this? What does this mean?
Right.
But yeah, you're so right. I need to just get more into the YouTube. We just get busy, and with kids. And
you make the videos, just put them down there.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're so right.
Yeah,
I know. We need to.
If you saw the mountains of content that I have a 2 terabyte Google Drive.
Yeah.
I load everything on. I save everything from all the shows on there, so I can go back and go, oh, I'd really like to get so-and-so's attention. They were on the show a year and a half ago.
Boom.
Boom. I take that reel and pop that reel again. Yeah. Type of thing. But again, these people from out of area, they're looking, they're Googling, whether it's the neighborhood, whether it's to find out background for you. And that YouTube, it's there. And it will pop up 3 or 4 years from now, whatever. As this show will pop up. If you Google, a lot of people have been on the show, it'll come up, Apple Podcast. right there, and then it'll have the YouTube video underneath it as well. There's a YouTube video about the person as well when you search. We talked about a listing consultation. Let's talk about a buyer's consultation.
Okay.
What is the Lopez Group in going into that? Well, I know, are today you more working organically from the many clients you might have gotten off of Zillow now are here and referring you? Is that pretty much where your business is coming from?
And a lot of our sphere of influence, being born and raised here, I have a lot of connections and a lot of friends and stuff like that. So that has been a huge lead source for us, just and being in the community.
Join the social media with the circle of influence.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier, a lot of people are seeing your videos. Oh, you guys must be so busy. I'm seeing all these videos. Yeah. That's the perception that they're getting because you're top of mind.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I've had agents, you talk about when they first got started doing a bunch of social media videos and their friends going, oh man, you must be killing it. And they hadn't even sold the house yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Some of that perception has become reality.
A lot.
Yeah. But staying top of mind, because I think that's where people are like, oh, do you get any business from social media? Well, do you have a circle of influence? You've got to constantly be reminding them, if you're not going out to dinner with them on a regular basis, they're just people or maybe people in the sheriff's office, and maybe you don't see it that often, but you know each other, and they're seeing those videos. You go, oh, yeah. Carlos is a realtor.
And that has happened many times where people reach out and they're like, oh, I see your videos and I was thinking my aunt needs to, XYZ. And I think all of that comes down to, I know you want to talk about the buyer's consultation, but one word that we really live by is intention and being intentional. Right. So if we're out with wherever we are and somebody talks to us about something totally different, we always seem to tie in, I'm a realtor, So some way or another. And we never want to throw it up and just be like, oh, let's sell. But it's just being intentional.
Well, you show up with the jacket on, right? They know what you're doing.
We love our new swag.
Gotta get this. I haven't got any Momentum swag here. I've got swag from others here. I'm gonna call out to John and Megan. I don't have any Momentum swag here.
But being intentional, I think, even with any new agent or agents that are on social media that aren't getting any deals from that or have no deals, I mean, it's just being intentional with whoever you meet, wherever it is, and just letting them know, even if you're on vacation. Sometimes we'll be on vacation like, hey, my goal today is to meet someone and give them my card. I'm in Miami.
But
you never know.
By the way, we make it a game. It's you have your stack of cards. I have mine. We'll see.
See how who can give out the most cards today?
It's true, though. I mean, you just never know who someone knows.
I want to actually, before we go into the buyer's consultation, tie listing into the social media, because and what your mindset is, maybe you're evolving that, because I think any good people are always tweaking what they're doing to try to make it better. I had George Guerrera from Miami, we were talking about it earlier, RESF in Miami, and he believes the 2034, 2044 real estate agent is going to be more of the talk show host or newscaster, video, because he basically he's built his career around that for 15 plus years, and his whole agency down there of almost 500 agents. He believes video. When you go in, you're in St. Augustine. Some of these houses are near the beach. How important is you have the video paint the picture?
Yeah, it's very important because you're getting your videos out there. And we've done a few different things, like I said, about the tweaking. We've done professional videos with Matt. We've done walkthroughs. We've done where we're in the video, where we're not in the video. And sometimes I feel like I get more attention with the reels. Doing fun reels, putting fun music to it. I think people, it's quick, it catches the eye, they're beatboxing to the music, and it kind of creates a lot of attention that way, rather than, a 2-minute video of a house. I mean, sometimes we're like, okay,
Well, I think you need to have the YouTube library for those who are doing research. Top of mind, the quick reel, reminding them that you're in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it also depends of the house,
True.
What tier is the commission, how
in depth of a video
what percentage are they paying and things like that, because you have to do your math. That way you're not just throwing money out there to make pretty videos, and if you're not converting, it's gonna put a hole in your pocket.
Well, it's funny, me and my wife, we were having this conversation the other day about there's some agents that immediately go into discounting their thing because they're not willing to say, hey, you're paying me for this because we're going to spend X amount. We're going to do video. We're going to do drone because you're 2 blocks from the beach. We need to show people that and everything. I mean, what you've obviously run into some of these agents. I'm sure you've done enough transactions that are just it's all about the dollars. Oh, okay, well, I'll discount it and I'll put my name up there and I'll handle the contract for you. It seems like that's all they want to do, and they're really, well, I think you and I think especially for you guys, because you guys are real estate agents, run themselves out of the business because you really need to make that money to provide the right service, give them all the benefits that they're supposed to be. And like I said, some houses don't, they don't warrant a video. Right. They all warrant pitch. You got to have pictures, right? Because you're going to put them up there. But, some of the agents, I'm sure you've gone on their MLS, and you're like, they took that with their cell phone, and it really isn't that good.
Oh, that irks me so much. It irks me so much because you're doing your sellers a disservice. I mean, a video or not, pictures are always going to be there. People are always on Zillow. Yep. And...
Or Google. If you Google that address, those pictures are showing up on all websites.
It's just, it's a disservice. And when you're so quick to discount yourself, I mean... Being in real estate, I think the fundamental, I was just talking to a girl that I know, she's thinking about doing her real estate. And she goes, do you have any new books for me or any books that I can read? And I said, I do.
You have a great podcast you can recommend.
Yeah, I can't give you the books. But what I will say, the biggest fundamental is mindset. And if you, out the bat, don't even value yourself, I mean, you have to learn to value yourself. And you are worth whatever commission you're trying to get. Don't just be quick to discount, because then... that's showing to the seller that you're not even willing to negotiate for them. Right. If you can't even negotiate for yourself, how are you going to negotiate for somebody else?
Oh, good point. That's that's a good reel right there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Did you look at the camera?
But it's true.
Yeah.
It's
and part of that, because we've done it too. Don't get me wrong. We've done it. But if you're newer, you need to get a mentor that tells you these things, so you can learn quick and learn how to show your value. Show the client where you're spending all that money he's paying for. If that is justified, they'll pay any amount. Yeah, they will.
Yeah. Because when it comes, we always use the term stepping over a quarter to pick up a nickel, because that's really what they're doing when you start discounting yourself.
Exactly.
Just show them the value.
And it depends. Some clients will not pick you because of that. If you come and do a service for me and I think you're cheap, then I'm gonna think that there's a reason why. There's a reason why, and you got to show your clients
value.
Why exactly? And you cannot tell them, hey, yeah, my commission is 6%, and what am I paying for?
Right. Explaining that.
My cousin's a real estate agent. He can put it in the MLS too. You got to tell them why they're paying 6%.
Where the value comes in at,
Exactly.
Well, I'm gonna hold off on the coach because he just brought it into the buyer's consultation, showing the value. Because with the NAR lawsuit, that's really what the bottom line is. We are not, as real estate agents, the community, we got to just get better, put more videos out there showing the value of what you bring. So when you are having that buyer's consultation and showing the value that you're going to bring to them, you're not just the person there to unlocking the doors. The behind the scenes that you're doing, because I think much like the listing agent, same thing. It's an iceberg. You're only seeing the very top of it, and there's so much more that you're doing behind the scenes at home. You've got the buyer consultation, a referral, whatever. What's your approach? What do you like to do? Meet them for coffee? Do you like to do a face-to-face? Or I know some agents like to do Zoom. How does the Lopez Group do it?
I like to meet them. We're really listing heavy right now, so I would say the buyer side we've had less and less buyers, which is good. That's our goal, is we really want to do listings more. But with buyers, taking the time to sit down with them and to educate them, because especially in this market, I think a lot of buyers think it's 2008 and they can just get a deal and lowball everything. And then there's sellers, which comes in the buyer's consult, because you also want to tell them sellers think it's 2021. So it's like there's a huge gap. They want top dollar. You want, just whatever you can get. Yeah. And it's just about educating them and letting them know what's happening in the market and giving them clear expectations of what's going to happen.
Right.
I like to figure out, obviously, their timeline, their budget, pre-approval, what they're looking for, listening to their needs, because, you may have the perfect house for them and they may not know it. So it's just, you have to talk to them and listen to what they really want to do. But I think just figuring out all of those boxes of, the timeline and the budget, and explaining to them how it's going to go. Okay, so we're going to start looking at houses, and when we start offering, just letting you know, this is what's going to happen with negotiations, inspections, going over that. Because you almost want to just give them the news of what could happen, almost worst case, before they know. Because If they love a house and then you get an inspection report back and it's terrible, you know, that is just heart shattering to anybody, because they're like, oh my God, I thought I already envisioned my family in this house. How are we going to do this? So I think just kind of explaining how the inspection works and how most of the time it's a lot of information that seems terrible, but, you know, you really got to focus on structural, electrical, you know, the roof. So all of the other things, the cracks in the sidewalk aren't, you know, they may see like a huge, big red flag, but.
Well, like when a buyer, you know, they move to the point of making an offer. So they're throwing their heart out there, because now the emotions get involved. They must have some emotional connection with that property.
Yeah.
Now you and I know some of them fall out for good reason, and actually the next property is really the one they really wanted a lot of times. But as an agent, speaking to other agents that might be listening, you've got them on the hook. So doing the things you just said, preparing them for the inspection report, you know, so that they aren't scared. I mean, and how important is to have a relationship with a good home inspector to begin with that actually knows how to present that to them, rather than throwing it at them and then scaring them and they run. Right?
Killing the deal.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you have to have someone, and we do have a great inspector that we work with, and he's willing to pick up the phone and to actually go over these concerns with them and explain, okay, you know, yes, you know, it may look really expensive, but you're really only looking at X amount. It's good to have those people, again, the list of resources and trusted resources that we've worked with time and time again, and we have, you know, a great relationship with, that's going to be honest, because I'm not hiring this inspector to just give you the report and tell you everything's great. I want him to be honest, but I want him to do it gently with education behind it of how you can, you know, what the solution is to the problem, rather than just giving you a whole list of problems.
Right. Obviously, we got a lot of new construction, which is most of the inventory, you know, out there right now. Well, the buyers that you've had, you know, in 23, you know, the incentives the builders are putting out there, you know, when working with your buyers and also with some of your sellers, and because obviously the sellers got to compete against that, right?
Yeah.
You know, structuring how they want to list a house, they want to advertise a buy down like the builders do right away, that they're willing to give that incentive. Talk a little bit of that, and, you know, of your mix last year. I mean, how much new construction did you end up doing? Because I think a lot of times, like anything, the people come in, they think they want new construction, they end up buying an existing home, and vice versa a lot.
Yeah.
You know, how do you go with the flow, so to speak, and working those type of things with the current market conditions?
Yeah, I would say with new construction, we did a few last year, and those were great scenarios, because I think that there's families with, you know, young children, and they don't have, you know, a lot of cash out of pocket to do the down payment and the closing cost and, you know, everything else on top of that.
Appliances and all the...
Yeah, so I think new construction is just the best product to sell, and I hate that sometimes, because I'm like, I love my lenders and I want to give them, you know, like, but it's very hard to compete, because they buy down your rate, you know, they pay all of your closing cost. So you're able to get into a property with very little money out of pocket.
Right.
And so obviously the monthly payment is what's enticing to everybody. But new construction, I mean, you're buying it new. You have all the warranties. You have, you know, less money out of pocket. You're able to save a lot of money that you thought you were going to spend, which is better, you know. But then I have people that really want the character of a pre-existing. And I can understand that too, because you're not going to be the cookie cutter. You're going to have more yard space, more character in the neighborhood. Right. But everybody's different. I mean, how that kind of works out. But I would say that the new construction is, for at least in our experience, the younger families that are their first home. Yeah. You know, they're not really sure how to do a lot of like the maintenance of a house.
They don't even know what a water heater is most of them.
Well, it's good to kind of have that, and it's like an introductory to home buying, and sometimes does make the best investments, because it's very little money out of pocket to acquire the property. So that's even more of like an investment standpoint. And one thing that, again, with the buyer's consultation, especially with first-time home buyers, younger ones, we always tell them, this is your first house. Don't think about the house that your parents have, because the house that your parents have, they took years to get there. Yeah, or many houses to get there. Yeah. But with your first home, you have to look at it with like an investor lens. Go in there. How much money did it take me to acquire the property? What is my monthly payment? What are the rental comps around it? And just give yourself maybe a plan. Maybe you stay in there forever. I doubt it. You may think you want to, but things change. Kids grow. Kids want to go to different schools. You know, your job may change. So if you think of like a good investment, and then in 3 years, you're able to hold on to that as a rental, or, you know, if they want to sell that, But there's just so many ways to think about I guess what I'm trying to say is there's many ways to decide what kind of property you're going to buy first.
Yeah.
And you have to almost have an investor lens for that. And that's kind of where we come in to help.
Well, the importance of, like you mentioned several times, you got to listen to them. They may come to you with a preconception, like how many people come in and say, I don't want to be in a CDD because someone told them about a CDD, but they want to live in Nocatee.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what I tell people all the time, especially young people. You might not want to be in an HOA. You might not want a CDD, but you want to have a house. You know, most 30-year-old men and ladies here don't have a home. They rent. So get yourself in a house, you know.
Well, you got the importance of when you drive in, come home from work every day, you drive in, you want that to hopefully be like, maybe put a smile that you didn't have all day.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's just the smartest thing to do. Right. You know, it might not be the prettiest house or the exact location that you want, but it's your house.
Yep. Exactly.
You know, that money you're paying every month, it's not going to the pocket of somebody else, it's going to your pocket.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
I want to, we tipped on coaching.
Yes.
we're going to finish up with coaching, and then I want to talk about the dynamics of you two to finish up.
Okay.
So you guys said you hired a coach.
Yeah.
Yes.
So at what point did it come to a realization, or just going to a conference or something, or listen to John speak about coaching, say, hey, maybe I should try this? What triggered you to say it's time to bring in a coach?
For us, I think I joined her. We grew together to where we could. And to learn more, we needed somebody to teach us more.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, and John and Brittany gave us a lot of recommendations, and they had a coach come in to teach Momentum for like a day or whatever. And we really liked her, and she had so much history of experience and of success. So she mentioned to the Momentum tribe that she's willing to take on new agents, and that was just a conversation that we had of like, we need to invest in ourselves. We just went to a conference for multifamily investing. That was the first conference we ever went to.
Right.
And that was like, now I understand the conference life, because you go there and it's just like, you're so just hyped up and you have so many goals, and
you're surrounded by like-minded people.
oh my gosh,
It was a Jake and Gino conference. It was,
and that just kind of changed our mindset a lot about a lot.
Things that you're doing.
Yeah.
For those who've never had a coach, because I'm totally, I hired a coach for the podcast, right? And he told me a lot of things that I'd never even listened to a podcast before, when I was first said, like, hey, maybe this is something I want to do. To give you the behind the scenes, like stuff that's down the road, like you need to prepare for. But I would imagine, and you correct me wrong, the coach didn't come in and just say, all right, you guys need to start doing this, this, and this, without even evaluating what you were doing.
right.
Tell us how that first meeting that you had, or the first initial meetings that you had, before they actually started inputting some advice.
Right.
Well, to me, I felt like it was like couples therapy.
it was intense.
Because she asked us a lot of questions. She wanted to understand our dynamic, our family life, our financial house. You know, there was a lot. She was like a coach of like, almost like a life, because she's not a life coach, but it was basically a life coach.
Right.
And I think she just has this way about her that she just peels and peels and peels back the onion. And she peeled a lot through us. And so she realized, like, okay, this is where, you guys need to work on. And part of those things is differentiating ourselves, because we are together a lot and we love to do it together. But he's really good at certain things. I'm really good at other things. And it's just good sometimes to separate, and we can conquer
It's just more efficient. Exactly. It's more efficient. And she did sessions with her first, and then sessions with me. And then after she figured each of ourselves better.
Because you're going to answer a question sometimes differently, because she's sitting there.
No, we're just different.
Yeah.
She needed to get to know us individually first, to then figure out how to do it, with us.
Because you don't know some of this, like the family life, how that's actually affecting the business. You need to know that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah. Exactly.
And with him being a cop, that was the biggest stressor for a little bit. And so she was also just kind of like pushing us to just do the damn thing. We finally did. And it's just like, we've never looked back since. And, one of the things that she said to me that I'll never, ever forget ever. Because we wanted to open up this other business. And in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm kind of afraid to tell her because, you know, that means that we're going to take not a step away from real estate. Real estate is our main
Right.
baby. But it is going to take some attention away for a little bit. And I didn't want her to say, well, when are you going to have your time to do all these things?
Right.
So I went in there with like my tail between my legs. I was like, we're thinking about opening up a new business. She's like, okay, tell me about it. We went through everything. And she's like, okay, so how many hours do you think it's going to take you away from real estate? I'm like, here it is. And I tell her, and she says, no, because I think it's a brilliant idea and you guys are going to be really successful. You need to put time into this. And I told her, but I'm a real estate agent and I just, I want to do these things. And she's like, let me stop you right there. It's just the main thing she told me that just changed my life, I feel like, forever. She said, you're not just a realtor. You're a real estate agent. You're an entrepreneur with a real estate license. And to me, I said, you know what? That is so true. And it just enforced the fact that I can do other businesses. I'm not just a realtor. I'm an entrepreneur with a real estate license. So I can do a lot of other things and be successful at it and sell real estate because all of these other businesses that we're going to implement, they're all going to be lead generation sources for real estate. Right. So exactly. It may not be directly tied in, but if there's one thing that she taught me was that, and that was really empowering for me.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about what are some of those things. What is his superpower? That's not going to go. What's his superpower?
Vision.
Here we go.
Vision. He has a lot of ideas. He does, and most of them are amazing. There's some that's like, all right, that's
how are we going to implement that?
Yeah,
I'm like that. I'm like Carlos. Yeah.
Well, my coach, she taught that. I mean, she helped me. Like, she was like, you got to write those ideas down. Mm-hmm. You got to write them down. You got to, because if you don't, I also feel like ideas are just esoteric things, right? Mm-hmm. If you put them down in paper, you bring them to the physical world, and that is the first step to getting.
I'm going to take that advice today, right there.
Yeah,
I'm going
to
take that one.
We do vision boards. I mean, we do a lot of like the journaling and the writing down.
You have to, and I don't. Me by myself, I cannot do any of the ideas I have. Mm. But I also, someone once told me, like, Henry Ford, he wasn't building the cars himself. He had way smarter people.
Right. Hired engineers to,
doing those things. You don't have to be it. The ideas come to you. You got to find the resources and the people mm-hmm. to do
implement them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Does the visionary, I'm going to use the word creativeness because I think that comes into the visionary part. I mean, when working just with an individual deal and negotiating, I mean, like you said, we talked about chess earlier. That creativeness, that visionary is like, okay, let's look at this transaction. It's gone off the tracks. How can we get it on? How can we make, a win-win situation for both? I imagine that comes in a lot. In
a lot. She talks to me a lot. If she's like dealing with some type of negotiation, she's like, hey, pretty much with every negotiation. And I give her my input. Sometimes she doesn't like it because I can be like, no, just, you know what? It's just no. Just don't know. And fire the client. I know it's crazy, but sometimes it's better. Mm-hmm. And that's just,
All right, what's Hannah's superpower?
Oh, man. She is...
Besides, she's got that great smile and looks good on the Instagram
reels. No, she's very smart. So I feel like her superpower is how diligent she is with everything she does. Mm-hmm. That's something that, man, you can be brilliant. You can be a brain. If you're not diligent and have discipline, you'll never accomplish anything in your life. Nothing. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's been the main blessing that, having her, having that discipline that supports me. It's amazing.
Day after Valentine's Day. Look at that.
But it's true. And it's a huge help when it comes to business. Huge help. If you've never read the book Rocket Fuel.
Yes, I have. Actually, the late Sarah Rocco lent that to me, and I read that 100%. Yes, yes.
It's a it's a powerful thing to have those things together. It's powerful.
Yes.
And we never really knew that until we had a coach
Yeah.
Right.
who finally, she was like, cleared the fog away and kind of put us in our place of like, you're the visionary, you're the integrator. I took the rocket fuel assessment. Have you ever taken that before?
I think it was in the book, wasn't it?
Yeah,
was
it
it
is.
like a little pre-quiz or something like
Yeah,
that?
you can do it online.
Yeah.
If anybody's listening, it's really important to do that. Do it online, quick.
Yeah. figure
His
out-
visionary score was like
Yeah.
just to the max. And it's interesting because mine was 50-50, visionary and integrator. Because I believe in manifestation. I have visions of our future. We do vision boards. We do all of those things, but I can integrate it.
If you and if you don't, you're as an integrator, don't see his vision, then it doesn't connect, in my opinion. You guys are, so you have to have a little bit of visionary to say, oh, that actually is a good idea. Let me see how I can integrate it.
Yes.
Because a lot of times she's like, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes some ideas are not for, it might not be for today. It might be for 5 years.
100%.
You never know. So that's why
They just come to us and we
just
spit
write
them
it
out. Yeah.
I write them down and I live them there because the time will come to where I'll be able to do that.
And we're opening up another business, and there's an idea that he had that he wrote down that's going to scale this current business, which we didn't really think that they could relate, but it's true. I'm like, oh, and then with this, and then with that, in like 3 years, we can add this, and then we can go here. So we almost have like a map of how we want things to look.
I think a lot of people are in the box on some of those things. Like, I find it, well, another thing, to go back to John Maxwell, he says one of the 25 things to influence people is introducing them to other people. So I find, so when whether I'm sitting here having a conversation with somebody and you bring up something and I'm like, oh, so you don't know photographer, whatever it is, and you got to get outside. And then how can this person help this person? You know both people, but they don't know each other. And you say, you know what, you need to meet so-and-so.
Yeah.
And to get out and how that business is going to, integrate. And then, again, I think a little bit at the, Dan Gilbert owns Quicken Loans. He owns many different companies and all of them feed back in some way to each other.
Yeah.
They lean on each other, whether it's leads, hey, I'm dealing with a bunch of home buyers. Well, they have a lot of needs, right? They need real estate agents. They introduce real estate agents to customers all the time. Well, hold on a second. We need, now they've got the app out there. It'll tell you all the, all right, well, we're getting everyone's financial information. How about an app that tells them where they're blowing their money at? That all those things integrate to each other. And he's surrounded himself by people that are finding these small businesses. He may not have had the original idea, but they're like, hold on a second. I could see how that, and everyone, and he called it eat your own dog food. I think it was basically, he would not allow anyone to do a mortgage that could be done at Quicken Loans with anyone else. If you went to another lender to buy your house, that was not, but it's not like he made it like a no-brainer. I mean, you got the wholesale rate, and that sort of thing. He wanted everyone to have, everyone that worked there had a Quicken Loans that they bought, had a mortgage, type of thing. But you got to bring all that together. And I think a lot of businesses don't.
Yeah.
They just kind of stay in there you have to have the visionary. The integrator is making that one business work. The visionary shows how all these other businesses can intertwine and network.
Yes, absolutely.
100%. Anything we haven't talked about? I mean, we could talk for hours, but
I know. No, I think we've covered a lot.
anything you want someone out there to know about the Lopez Group, whether, I'm sure you guys being top producers, you probably get asked all the time. So, if there's an agents out there who aren't doing very well, maybe want to know about Momentum and why you guys are there. And we're so passionate, as Carlos said, he wouldn't go anywhere else. He said, basically is what you said, I think.
I'm not leaving.
That's what I would say to any new agent, to find a brokerage where they have really good training and support, people that want to help them. Sometimes you go to a big team, and it's awesome, but no one's there to help you.
Right.
Everybody's competing.
They just want you to
like
make the phone call.
Well, to tap on that a little bit, I think some brokers run their course. John and Brittany are very young. How important is, if you're going to lead brokers and want to be part of this, the Momentum family, I'm sure every day they're trying to figure out a way to stay out in front, be bringing you guys new stuff. Like obviously a coach moved your business, hey, maybe we should go to this event together and go, and you get energy from that. How important is a broker to be out front leading like that? And it's a challenge. It's a challenge for a broker to do that.
It's so important.
If your broker is not a leader, it's not gotta be like Momentum.
Momentum, I mean, they're smart because they have created so many ecosystems within Momentum. They're now helping you fund, any flips that you want to buy. So if you find a flip, they're able to lend the money on it, so you have that. You have the title company, you have the lender. Not necessarily saying you need to use all of those people, but they just have so many resources, and now they're trying to do marketing resources. Like, what do you need? And they're always asking, what do you guys need? What do you guys want? Let us try to implement it. Just tell us what you want.
They're out there searching it down because you're doing your day job. You're showing the houses. You're talking to new customers, and sometimes you can hit a lid there, right? You fill your bucket that you don't have time to go find the next thing that's going to, in the next market turn, what's going, and to have someone foreshadowing or just being out front looking for those things for you, which obviously makes that's the value they're bringing to you guys.
So much value.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like just touching the surface of the value that they give us.
Momentum Realty is the best brokerage in Northeast Florida.
It's
hands down.
It's great.
We got a commercial right there. Carlos is going. I'm going to cut that clip.
But it is so true because honestly, people have seen it when you're in brokerages that are so big. Momentum was really small. Now it's grown a lot. That you think that you don't have access to your brokers, and I could text him right now, and in 2 seconds he'll text me right now.
I have him. I've texted him. We were talking about the lending thing earlier, and he responded in a reasonable period of time.
That's his job because he knows. He's like, I'm not even selling real estate anymore. All I want to do is support my agents any way that I can, and if I could be quick to respond and quick to meet with you, it's.
That's leadership and making you feel valued.
Exactly.
100%. And I honestly think, the work that I've done and the volume that I've sold on my own, not having leads and, bringing him on and everything, it's been because of their support and them telling me you can do it. There's so many brokerages that kind of almost cut your legs a little bit because they don't want you to leave. They want you to stay. And all they want you to do is flourish. And they're willing to give you all of their years of training that they've done and give you for free and just tell you, like, go spread your wings. You can do all of these things that you want to do. You could do it.
And sometimes people just need that.
All I needed was that.
And whether they actually, they don't actually know if you're going to be successful on it, but just having someone say, I believe in you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. It makes a difference. And honestly, that's why, with him, that's all I needed was for him to say, go do it.
Yeah. My wife asked me yesterday, hey, we have some condos where we got 6 or 7 of them, and one we're flipping. And she's like, I'm looking at this one here, and, I'm like, honey, you're the real estate agent. The worst case is you buy it, especially if the person's willing to finance it in-house. I said, if the market actually softened, what would we lose? $10,000 or $20,000? Maybe. We've got all these others that we've gained so much on.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
If you think it's a good idea, I got you.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Guys, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
Great conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.